was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. Thank you again. I have two announcements at the beginning of the show that I must make. First of all, I want to send my condolences out to a close family friend who passed away this morning. I got a text message about 3 in the morning, 3 in the morning, very almost like a brother to me, passed away this morning. I want to send my condolences to his blood family, and may God be pleased with him, and may his journey be peaceful and smooth. Brother Mahdi, be blessed, be safe on your journey to the originator. Secondly, at the last minute, my guy, Alex Krainer, asked, could I reschedule the show for tomorrow or the day after tomorrow? Something major just came up, and I accommodated him because that's my guy. All right. So we'll have Alex Krainer on in the next day or so. Okay. I want to also shout out to, let me make sure I get this right. I want to give a shout out to, Anant Venu. I got your message. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the donation because it came through PayPal. Thank you so much. And I will ask Alex the question, either one or both questions if I get a chance to, on the air. Thank you so much. And thank you for the big super chat donation. I really, really appreciate that. For everybody who's watching, we're still going to chop it up just for a minute, okay? I'll give you 30, 40 minutes of some news, and we'll get it going like that. But we'll have things happen. As I said, this is a packed morning. 2 or 3 in the morning, I get the email. Close family friend passes away, and then Alex and I had to reschedule because something came up on his end. Besides, he's going to drop me some behind the scene information also. So I'm willing to sacrifice that to do the show tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to get a little info outside of the show. All right. So shout out to William Gilchrist in the building. Thank you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. I really appreciate it. So I want to get into a few things since we're here. All right. There was a report, as a matter of fact, it's on Sputnik right now. Okay, it's on Sputnik right now. It says Putin holds a phone call with Macron. All right, and I just saw this. Shout out to random. You know, I always butcher your name. Random Izerg. You know, I always butcher it, but you know it's love in my heart for you. So don't take it to the heart. All right, charge it to my head, not to my heart. It says it has been their first phone conversation since 2022. Putin, in a conversation with Macron, discussed the situation surrounding Ukraine and reminded that the conflict is a direct consequence of the West's policies. Speaking about the prospect for a peaceful settlement, Putin confirmed the fundamental approaches to potential agreements, which should be comprehensive and long-term, addressing the root causes of the Ukrainian crisis and based on new territorial realities. When considering the situation around Ukraine, Vladimir Putin recalled that the Ukrainian conflict is a direct consequence of the policies of Western states that for many years have ignored Russia's security interests, created an anti-Russian foothold in Ukraine, condoned violations of the rights of Russian-speaking citizens, and are now pursuing a policy of prolonging hostilities by feeding the Kiev regime with various modern weapons, the statement read. Putin confirmed Russia's principled approaches to possible agreements on the prospects for a peaceful Ukrainian settlement, the Kremlin said. Speaking about the prospects for a peaceful settlement, the Russian president confirmed principled approaches to possible agreements that should be comprehensive and long-term in nature, provide for the elimination of the root causes of the Ukrainian crisis, and rely on new territorial realities. Now, it goes on, the statement goes on and whatever. But listen, we understand, and I know that Vladimir Putin is being diplomatic. But if Vladimir Putin believes that the U.S. or NATO will honor his agreement, maybe he's delusional. I have to say this. Listen, I live in the heart of the beast. My whole life has been experienced by the heart of the beast, okay? From personal experiences to observations. And I can give you sound insight from my learning experience. And my learning experience says that the empire will never relent. It is not in the nature of the American empire or its tentacles, NATO. They have plans. When they're losing, they want to talk. They want to negotiate. That is to buy time for them to rest, rearm, and recalibrate. You understand? Shout out to Red Panda Pie. Shout out to Red Panda Pie. And Random, you got a good point. I was reading that yesterday also. Random says, this comes just in time while Lugansk region was finally liberated. What is going on here is this. The U.S. empire, or the U.S. British Empire, I should say, or NATO, they're losing on all fronts. They don't have a foot leg. They want to set up a branch of them in Asia. Right now, there are no takers. There are really no takers. They're trying to pressure South Korea. They're trying to pressure the Philippines. They're trying to pressure Japan as to be the Asian headquarters for NATO. They're trying to destabilize Africa. They're trying to destabilize Latin America because they're losing on every end. And if we rewind the tape back, Macron just said a few days ago that Europe must now look at a new European security architecture, which includes Russia. The same premise that Vladimir Putin stated prior to the special military operation, when he was asking the U.S. and NATO nations for a new security architecture. Now, I have a problem with this new security architecture, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's racist as hell in its inception. And I'll tell you why that, okay? And shout out to ALM. Yeah, shout out Red Pill family, all right? Listen, I'm going to tell you why it's racist as hell, okay? Shout out to Region 9 too. Because it is the European nations that are destabilizing the entire world. There are no African military bases in Europe. There are no Latin American military bases in Europe. There are no Asian military bases in Europe. There are no Eurasian military bases in Europe. But if we flip the question and we flip the statement over, we see outposts all in Latin America from former colonial nations. We see the destabilization and the outposts in Africa. We see the outposts in Asia and the provocations in Asia. So when we start talking about this new European security architecture, Europe has destabilized the whole world. They should be formulating a security architecture which protects the world from European and U.S. assaults. Listen to this good, because nobody looks at this like this. And you know I call it straight down the middle, an ace of ace and a spade of spade. I don't care if you black as the ace of spade or white as snow. I'm going to call it like it is, okay? I'm going to call it like it is. All right? Shout out to, let's see, I see Region 9 says President Roy Cohen, Israel is the greatest nation possible of all time, with notable exception of maybe the United States, depending on how you look at it. Let's see. Sheila Gray says, amen. Mayday says, thanks, Rashid. Please have Alex on with Brian, my two favorite and go-to analysts. What about Rashid? No, I'm just joking. M Spark says, what's good, fam? Shout out to everybody. Listen. So, how can you talk about a European security architecture when it is the US and Europe which is destabilizing the entire globe? The world should have a security architecture outside of Europe and the US, because let's look at the problem that Europe faces right now and see what is the how did this happen. When we look at the influx of migrants, okay, right, in Europe, why is that happening? It's because Europe and the United States won't mind their own business. They are destabilizing Africa and West Asia. They're destroying the infrastructures which govern nations, overthrowing leaders. What else do you expect to happen when people are in their own country, minding their own business, trying to build up their nation, and then all of a sudden you have a coup, you have assassinations, you have the influx of terrorists, you have sanctions, illegal sanctions on these nations. So the people rush out. That is a direct consequence of imperial hubris. So what we're looking at is them whining and crying over the blowback of European and U.S. policies. Remember, Muammar Gaddafi warned them, if you remove me, you're going to have an influx of migrants. Because if you destroy what I'm building, then they're going to flee. They want to be a part of what I'm building. And I'm trying to build, I'm trying to turn the desert into farmland. I'm trying to use my water to enrich the nations in Africa. I'm trying to solidify African unity so that we can be a power block, which is beneficial to us, which makes us independent of you, but it's also beneficial of you because there's no beggar giver here. There's equality. So this is a no-no with Europe, and Europe removed them anyhow. And look what's happening. An influx of migrants, and now they're crying about the people coming into there not assimilating, and the people coming in there causing taxpayers to pay more money. That is a direct consequences of racist colonial policies. So when we talk about a European architecture, security architecture, Europe must first do some soul searching. The United States must first do some soul searching and say, hold on, what is the best way to secure Europe? What is the best way to secure the U.S.? First of all, extricate yourself from all of those nations and let them do their thing. You would not like it if Niger was mining gold in France, not giving France anything, and every now and then tossing them a couple coins and using France's uranium to power Niger. So there's a golden rule: do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. So if Europe really wants a better security, they have to then soul search and look at the way that they're talking about other people. What did the former foreign secretary of the European Union say when he told Lavrov, get Russia out of our Africa? An arrogant, raceful statement. And then Macron says that, and other European leaders says that we must help Africa to govern. We must help Latin America to govern. No, what you must do is extricate yourself and mind European business. You cannot dominate the entire planet anymore. You've got to be respectful of people, of their cultures, which supersedes everybody's cultures for millions of years. So if you really want to stop the hemorrhaging economically, extricate your military from those areas. Leave those people to themselves. Let them do what's best for them, because what's best for you is not best for them. So that is a main priority. If you want to talk about a European security architecture, you have to go to the cause. You cannot put a Band-Aid on cancer and then expect to be healed. That's not how that goes. When doctors do a diagnosis of you and they realize that you have cancer, then they formulate a plan to attack that cancer. so that they can try to preserve the body, the life of the body. Well, if you are being inundated with refugees, one must ask, why are they coming? And we must seriously consider and contemplate why they are coming. Huh? And when we talk about crime, what is a bigger crime than to go into another country, destroy its infrastructure, spread terrorism and steal resources and keep them destabilized so that you can benefit off the raw material? So the golden rule stands: do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. But for the last 500 years, the Western world has done unto others without expectation that sometime it would come back and be done unto them. And the people in Europe, not the government, but the people are paying the price for the call for the policies of the elite. The people in America are paying the price for the policies of the elite. And nobody accepts responsibility. They're always telling every other nation, you must grow up and you must be responsible. But yet, at the same time, they deny all responsibility for the destabilized world today, for the security situation in the world today. And remember, when they talk about a European security architecture, outside of North Korea and outside of China, all other nations, including the occupying Zionist regime in Israel, are Western nuclear powers. So if you cannot secure yourself through nuclear arms, what's the use of the nuclear arms? If you cannot secure yourself through economic progress, even through exploitation of others, then what's the use of you exploiting the others? I'm asking. Because if we do not get down to that, discussing European security is irrelevant. Do you understand what I'm saying, everybody? Calling an ace and a spade a spade. For those of you who are joining us, and we have, let's see, hold on one second. Let me see something. This thing is jumping. Hold on. Everybody, hold on one second. Why is this thing doing this? Boo. Hold on. YouTube is tripping again. Here we go with this foolishness. YouTube is not giving me any. Okay, we have about, right now in the chat, we have about 55 people. Okay. So let me go back and say this again. Around 2 to 3 this morning, I get a text message saying that a close personal friend of mine passed away. I send my condolences to his family. May God be pleased with him, give comfort to his family, and may his journey be peaceful to the originator. Also, Alex hit me up. Something came up. We have to reschedule for tomorrow. He want to do it tomorrow, to be honest with you. I'm trying to get the schedule around so we can do it tomorrow. If not, we'll do it the day after that. But he has also some things for me, okay? So we've done that. But I didn't want to just say that and then get off the air. I wanted to talk to you guys about real issues that's going on. And I'm not going to hold you long, all right? All right? But I just wanted to let you guys know that. Don't want to leave any of you hanging. Shout out. I miss so many people. Shout out to S. Shout out to Collie Beans. Shout out to I said Region 9, M Spot, Rulon, and LM. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm messing this stuff up. Shout out to I already said William. Lee Argent. Shout out to you. God, man, this thing is jumping so fast. YouTube, you suck. I just saw something. Lee Argent said, "You rule this world no more. Stand down or be put down." Yeah. So listen. Oh, Brian needs to read the Albert Pike policy paper. This is also a Masonic symbol. Yeah. Oh, Albert Pike. Yes, I can say a lot about Albert. But let's go further. So think about this. The ones that are creating havoc and and dissatisfaction and disillusionment and spreading the tentacles of war around the world. I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about Russia per se. I'm saying that the Western world is talking about a European security architecture, excluding Africa, hit the hardest by colonialism, excluding Latin America, hit the hardest by colonialism, excluding the Caribbeans, hit harder by the colonialism, excluding Asia, hit hard by the colonialism, and Eurasia, hit hard by European and Western hubris. And you're talking about a security architecture for you. That is racist as hell. It's arrogant at the least. It's arrogant at the least. You know what that's tantamount to when we look at the governments? That's tantamount to, you have robbers, right? 3 or 4 robbers getting together and say, we got to form a unified front so that nobody comes into our house and steal the goods that we stole from somebody else. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that in itself. So they're screaming about a European security architecture when there are no Latin American military bases, no Caribbean military bases, no African military bases, no West Asian military bases, no Eurasian military bases, and no Asian military bases in Europe. But there are European bases in Eurasia, European bases in Africa, West Asia, Asia proper, the Caribbean, and Latin America. Stop this foolishness. Stop it. Stop playing with people's intelligence. And no one talks about it because these are uncomfortable truths. So to get down to a security, you got to stop bothering everybody else. You got to get your military and your covert operations out of Africa, out of Latin America, out of the Caribbean. Look at what they did to Haiti and what they're doing to Haiti. And they're talking about a European security architecture. For some of you who don't know, Haiti is in a position that it's in. See, the Western media makes you think that Haiti is ungovernable and these people are just running wild. That's not the case. The U.S. is, I'm going to name the main culprits. And then there are other culprits that are juniors. The main culprits, the U.S., the U.K., France, especially France and the U.S., right? Use Haiti as a port for dope. The intelligence services, that's one of the main points where they ship dope from east to west and west to east. So they have to keep it off balance. Haiti got its independence through a rebellion. France sued Haiti. Listen to me good. France sued Haiti in a European court and won. And the argument was that they lost billions of dollars because Haitians wanted to be free and France had a rum and rubber factory that they lost money off of. And to this day, Haiti is paying that debt. And the United States went and kidnapped the sitting president of Haiti and forced him, Jean Aristide, look it up, forced him to sign a paper saying that he would not run for politics. If he would be put in isolation or in the U.S. jail. He was the most popular president in the history of Haiti. But because they did surveys, and Haiti is rich in oil, gas, gold, and all of this other stuff. And because he told the Western companies that you would have to come in and you cannot get majority stakes in this, because the money would have to go back to rebuilding Haiti and empowering Haitians, the U.S. under Bill Clinton kidnapped a sitting president and held him hostage. And we're talking about European security architecture? Huh? Talk back to me. Forced him. The people protested. Go Google what I'm saying. See if I'm lying to you all. The people were protesting. Bring Aristide back. And the only way the United States agreed to bring him back is he could not be president again. He couldn't be a prime minister. He could not enter politics. And he could not arouse the passions of the Haitian people for true independence. Go look it up. I'm not talking about 100 years ago. And you're talking about European security architecture? What about Haitians? What about Latin Americans? What about the Caribbean? What about African? What about West Asia? Or they call it the Middle East. What about Asia, Eurasia? Hell, what about Ukraine? Because Ukraine decided not to enact the policies of Europe, a coup took place, and we have the blowback of that coup right now in the special military operation. And then you want to tell me about European security, huh? So European security exists, but they're not thinking about the people in Armenia that does not want to be vassals of Brussels, huh? Or the people of Georgia that has been sanctioned by Europe because they don't want to bow to U.S. and NATO dictates. Not just talking about black nations, brown nations, red nations, yellow nations. What about the white nations? Huh? Georgia is a majority white nation. What about in Romania? What about in Moldova? The ignoring of the will of the people. Hell, we can go to one of the main European nations. What about France? Macron has passed his state as the president, used some little herky-jerky stuff to overturn the will of the people, and you're talking about European security? Huh? The corruption is astonishing. The arrogance of these people. Because they don't go to the root cause of the matter. Because it's not palatable to most people. Because people get hurt feelings. Sometimes it's good to have hurt feelings. It makes you more active in thinking. It makes you more aware of your surroundings. That says, William Gilchrist says, let's see, Migration for the Benefit of All, 2002, Weinstein, Project Syndicate publication, 2015, George Soros, Destruction of the Original Lands, all facilitate the agenda. The old vigilant from the, man, this thing is jumping. Hold on one second. Let me look at the screen over here. I'll see it up here. From the old empire, okay. So, let's see, it's jumping. I'm trying to get some of your comments up here. I'm sorry, everybody, if I'm missing your comment. Thank you for the condolences. Let's see, typo. So, to get to the bottom of European security, one must ask yourself, what is Europe doing to be insecure? Huh? To find out to have security, you must look at what you are doing that is causing insecurity. Duh. Because weaponizing and arming seems to not be doing the trick. You have nuclear weapons. You have an alliance. You have the economies, yet you're not secure. Then something is wrong. There's a flaw in your thoughts. There's a flaw in your policies that is causing this. One has to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, what if I stop this or do this? Because listen, the reason I tell you that these people are psychotic and they're lunatics and they're crazy, the policymakers, right, is because they do the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting a different result. You go destabilize Africa and you talk about security at home. Then you scream about violence. Then you scream about not assimilating. Then you scream about the influx of migrants. How about we do something different? How about we do something that is diametrically different than what we've done before? How about you extricate those foreign aid programs that are actually PSYOP programs out of those countries? How about you remove your military? How about you pull your corporations back and say, how about we deal with these people on a fair footing, an equal footing? And if they can use some of the profits of their money to benefit their people, then maybe we won't have an influx of violence because the situation would be stable. And then there would be money to produce for education, for investment. How about we think outside of the box of imperialism and colonialism? Nah, that's too easy. That's too much like right. Everybody is disturbing your security. You got the nuclear weapons. You have the military bases. You have the military armaments. You have the policies. You have the levels of government globally. And it's everybody else. Stop this. Stop it. Stop it. We're not falling for the okie dokie anymore. You're not going to tell me you're the victim and you keep breaking in other people's houses. So when the child of the parent that you killed come to your house and say, hey, I'm parking myself in this room and I'm going to eat what I want to eat, I'm going to disregard your rules in your house, you cannot cry and whine about that. That's a natural response to your actions. You don't tell your people this because they'll rise up against the government policies. So is everybody else for. I'm going to demonize that person. I'm going to make it look like this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to demonize them. So if the people focus on that person and that color and that thing right there, they won't focus on me robbing them, lying to them, and doing everything else to them. Man, you can't pull this over on people no more, man. Stop this. Not the people on the Red Pill Diaries, the Red Pill Journals. You can't do that. So the fundamental thing that has to happen, there must be a rethink. Because everything starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if you want security, you have to rethink the policy initiatives that you have introduced to the world. If you refuse to rethink them, you can never hope for security because you are the destabilizing factor here. In mathematics, it tells you to look for a common denominator. And we know that mathematics is supreme. So if mathematics is supreme, you have to use it in science. You have to use it in history. Whatever you do, it's mathematics. So we have to look for a common denominator in the destabilization of the world, the destabilization of Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, Eurasia, West Asia, and Asia proper. The common denominator is Europe and the US. We can't get around that. So to have security for Europe, you must think outside of the colonial paradigm. You got to do right by others. Make amends for what you've done to your population and to other people. Because even right now, you're refusing to respect your own population. You're ignoring the will of the people who are telling you, focus your efforts on programs that benefit us, not the military wing. You're ignoring that because you still want to remain relevant as a global power. So you ignore the will of your people, you ignore the will of the people whom you conquer, and you want European security. Tell me how does that work? Huh? I'm asking. On the real. So we go back to them proposing Vladimir Putin saying X, Y, and Z. Europe is now turning, saying we have to talk. This is a climb down. Not only is it to buy time, they're hoping that they can buy time through negotiations. See, Macron had to eat so much crow that he might start flying to make that phone call. After calling Putin crazy, a lunatic, a murderer, and all of this stuff, then you have to call back. And then what you say? We're not going to talk to Putin. Russia needs to know the language of military force and all of this stuff, right? And then you have to climb off of that horse. Bow yourself and eat crow. Not only are you forced to do that, but there's a multiple amount of things going on here. You're forced to eat crow. You're losing on the battlefield. You're losing economically. You're losing domestically. So what do you have to do? What does empire do when they're losing? What did the United States do with Hezbollah? What did they do with Hamas? What did they do with the Syrian government? What are they doing with Iran after losing? All of a sudden, we want to talk now. What'd you say? Rest, rearm, and recalibrate. And if these things don't work, then you talk about tangible things to put into place that'll secure you. But you're going to still be trying everything in your power to put that old policy in because you don't know how to think outside the old paradigm. And I'm just being honest about this. One thing, listen to me good. One thing that you will get here is honesty. One thing you will get here is straight talk. I don't like that beating around the bush. I don't like that the political theater that goes on. I don't like that. Because as men and women, we should be able to talk to each other eye to eye and call an ace a spade, and talk directly to each other, right? And sometimes we won't agree, but we're grown up and we're supposed to be mature enough in our thinking that we can be agreeable to disagree. But the problem is nobody wants to address these unpalatable truths. That's the problem. And as long as you ignore the truth of the matter, you can never hope to get to a solution or a cure to the problem. It's just window dressing. That's what leads to the color revolutions. That's what leads to the outcry. Why do of people saying that they're tired of the political system? They're tired of this because nobody has addressed the root causes of what's going on. All of it is window dressing. I'm telling you now. Red Panda Pie says, unfortunately, in France, like in many EU countries, there's absolutely no alternative. They're all globalists. It'll take decades and decades for EU to readjust. Then if it takes decades, then it must. The journey to 1,000 miles begins with the first step. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Sacrifice. It's all relevant. Societies aren't built overnight. Even policies are not implemented overnight. Look at the policy that just took place. We saw in real time with the decapitation attempt against Iran and the war against Iran. That didn't happen just right then and there. Now, more facts are coming out, like I was telling you guys, that this was planned long ago. When just like when they went against Libya, as I tell people all the time, I said, people think that just happened. The United States and the West lets you know certain things are going to happen. They put it in movies. They put it in music. They put it through the think tanks. Like Ray Liotta did a movie called No Way Out. Go look at this. It's an 80s movie, right? Where he was in the military, and then he was banished to a penal island, a penal colony, right? And he was having flashbacks on what took place, right? And he was in this chopper. And a uprising, listen to this good, took place in Benghazi, right? Right? In Libya. Right? And there was a lot of fighting, insurrection, and war there, right? Sound familiar? Remember, the U.S. never forgave Muammar Gaddafi for kicking the U.S. out of its biggest military base in that region, which was in Libya. They never forgave him. They lulled him to sleep through what? Promises of inclusion, negotiations, and talks, right? Sound familiar to what we're seeing today? Huh? I'm just asking. We have to look at these things. So it's not really a surprise to see them do what they're doing, because what they do is all they know how to do. The reactions or the actions of America in the West didn't just pop up. It sprang from thought. And then the thought put it into motion. We look at what the U.S. has done to Libya. We look at what the U.S. has done around the world. And now all we have to do is mirror it back to the situation we see in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Syria, in Iraq, in Somalia, in Yemen, in Iran. It's all the same story. Continuity of agenda. It doesn't matter if it's Trump, as we were telling you, as you and Brian and I. Brian has a larger channel, so the stuff that I say is not picked up as big as he does. But Brian recognizes that I've been saying this just as long as he's been saying it. All right? So it doesn't matter if it's Trump. It doesn't matter if it's Obama, if it's Bush. The beast must be fed, and the beast is the empire. Because without the beast causing chaos, there is no order to be established. That's why they have a saying, through chaos comes order. For the empire to continue, the British U.S. Empire, the Western world to continue, everybody else must be subjects to the throne. Everybody else must be subjugated, and there must be some level of chaos going on so that they can justify their militarization of the world and their occupation of places, so that the empire can continue to expand its tentacles, so that debt can be established, so that the empire can expand the debt so that it can breathe another day. Because if there's truly security, the military-industrial complex go kaput. If there's true security, then all of those greedy bankers and professionals lose their host body. So for that to take place is not beneficial for the people in power. So no matter what they say about peace, follow the money. No matter what they say about peace, look at their actions. No matter what they say about peace, look at the policies. And if you want peace, and those policies have not brought you peace, common sense tells you it's time to rethink everything and change the policies. But this is too much like right, because they think they know everything. Arrogant. They are inebriated on power. And they think everybody is beneath them. That's why they disregard what the people say. And they do it right in front of the cameras. They don't care nothing about what you think. And if they thought you were a threat, guess what happens? You get set up, become a pedophile, you become a rapist, a Me Too movement or something like that. You become this. Anything to discredit you. If they feel like some that you're saying is hitting home with other people. So they discredit you, and people are quick to believe the worst of somebody instead of believing the best of somebody. They could have known that person for 30 years and knew that the person's credibility and personality was impeccable. But the news pops something up and I knew something was wrong about that guy. The power of imagery and media over the mind of people is something else. And they understand that that's why they use it at every turn. To keep power, to keep you subjugated, to keep you dissatisfied, to keep you looking elsewhere. They're telling you to wait till you die to get to heaven while they're building a heaven for themselves by stealing land, stealing resources, living the life, living in luxury. That's what they're doing. You guys know I'm telling you guys the truth. Udemy Williams says the 3 R, absolutely. You know, I coined that 3 R. That's right. Rest, rearm, and recalibrate. Sheila Gray says, you can't bargain with a cokehead. We all saw the video of EU leaders. So now let's look at Zelensky for a minute, okay, before we close this out. And so we're going to address, because Sheila brought up some good. Zelensky is not the only cokehead, but he's the only one that's getting notoriety of being a cokehead. You have plenty of congressmen and parliamentarians and all of that stuff that are cokeheads, pedophiles, rapists, you know, Satanists and all that stuff, right? But now I'll lay this out. Say, for instance, and we know that he is a cokehead, Zelensky. Then that lends even more weight to what I'm saying. If he's there, then how the hell is he calling the shots? If America is funding 90+% of the government pensions, the government budgets, America has infiltrated all of the civil society and all of the military and government infrastructures from intelligence to military. How in the hell can he make an independent policy move? He's just a cover. So when something is going wrong and they feel something is going wrong, they say, Zelensky won't do this and Zelensky won't do that. But Russia keeps saying, what does Russia keep saying? We want to negotiate with the U.S. Why is Russia continuing to say that they want to negotiate with the U.S.? And Zelensky keeps saying, I need you to negotiate with me. Because the Russian leaders understand that it is not Zelensky that is responsible for the policy. It is not Zelensky that is responsible for the battlefield movements. It is the U.S. Common sense tells us that. Zelensky is the fall guy, the patsy. Throughout history, America has always had patsies when they want to do something, right? Zelensky is that guy. Yeah, he may have a little power within Ukraine. But that's like you having power in your bedroom and then thinking that you can go up to the White House and then dictate the policy. All of that comes down to U.S., UK planning. And I've been saying this before any of those papers came. Go look at my record. I've been saying this before all of these major turn and say, oh, there was a breaking news saying that all of the planning for the war came from NATO headquarters and such under the U.S. I've been saying that. I've been telling you guys that. He who gives the money calls the shots. He who provides the weapons calls the shots. America will never allow you to have equal say as her. She only wants vassals. So why is it different when it comes to Zelensky? How the hell can Zelensky rebuff the United States? All of that is political theatrics. Because I asked everybody, from small shows to bigger shows, show me one time in American history where America had allowed that. Show me once. One time. And if you cannot, then how can you expect that to be, especially at a time when the American empire is hemorrhaging losses around the globe? You're going to tell me they're going to allow him to set the standard for people to buck up against them? Nah. Wrong answer. William Gilchrist says, policies, yes, indeed, Rashid. Strategic sequencing revisited. 2025 marathon. West Mitchell or the infamous Which Path to Persia, 2009. Brookings Institute. The party may change, but the policies do not. Boom! Mic drop moment, William Gilchrist. Boom! That stays up there for a minute. Yeah. Absolutely. 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 So, again, if it has not happened, why are you especially if that's a cokehead? America doesn't even allow European leaders to have equal say to her. So you telling me Ukraine does? I'm asking. Maybe I just don't understand. Show me a European leader that America allows to have equal say to them. And they have control over their countries. And you're telling me that they're going to allow a cokehead who's a puppet, who receives his budget from the U.S. to have equal say on the policies there? Man, stop this. Stop it. People insult the intelligence of the masses of the people when they believe that, when they say stuff like that. All right. Let's see. Lee Argent says America needs revolution. People need to take back their political, economic systems from the bad hands they're in. It's the only way. On that note, let me address that right there. Lee Argent, boom. Revolution is coming. You know how? Things are deteriorating at such a fast pace. And the government seems to look at the people as the enemy, and the people view the government as the enemy. And then you see different ideologies. You see the cohesiveness fall apart. You see greed. You see anger. You see people are starting to think about the freedom and the privileges that they used to have, right? Dissipate. And this caused anger to rise up in the midst. And from that anger, it sparks revolution, right? But to get back to the political and economic system that was there, remember, that is predatory on its inception. So something new must take its place, or we're going to go through this whole thing again. And the only way to have something new, somebody must produce new thoughts. You cannot put new wine in old wineskin, lest the wineskin break and the wine spill out, right? My Bible thumpers, you know what I'm talking about, right? So, to have something new, you must be willing to part with the old, right? No 50-50. You got to, for something more tangible, you got to get rid of that old. And the only way to get rid of the old is you got to get rid of the old thinkers. Because systems don't just pop up. They come out of the mind of people. And they're sustained through the thoughts of people. So you must remove the thought and the people from the position to have something new. Or else we're just going to regurgitate some semblance of what we had. I hope everybody's understanding. All right? I hope everybody's understanding on this matter. Look for the show. My son will be putting the thing up. We were supposed to have a channel member stream in the morning, but because of the rescheduling, I'm gonna have to reschedule the channel member in the Patreon stream. Okay, I want to apologize, but something came death, and something came up for Alex Krainer, so we'll have him on probably tomorrow morning. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, your brother, and your friend. Now, as we go out, I go out the same way that I always come in. I want you to understand that you've got to think outside the narrative that is being fed to us. Do right by others, not because there's some material gain or some accolades. Do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching, God Almighty is watching you. As my mother always said, he may sit high, but he looks low. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that my God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, remember to stay righteous. Like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Hey, mama, I hope I'm doing a good job for you. Your baby boy still loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We're out of here. Peace.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a